Battle of the Birds, we have analysts Mackenzie Freeman and Alex Weister. Guys, last Saturday was another Saturday of winning football for this team. 8 straight conference wins now. 47-27 was the final last weekend against Louisiana Tech. Mackenzie, give me some quick thoughts on that win last weekend.
I think run game was exceptionally well. I think, we had a big 92-yard run, and then we had a 66-yard run by Horton. I think the guys on the UNT offense are executing well. I mean, Austinani had a couple of hiccups, but, that's expected. He's a very mediocre quarterback. He'll have to step it up next week, or I don't think it'll end up good.
Yeah. 475 rushing yards in that game, Alex. What were your takeaways from that game?
As Mackenzie said, the run game was fantastic. But, of course, the defense stepped up once again. They had 7 sacks on the day. And that game really was never out of UNT's hands. It was a great win against a team that they've struggled against in recent years, and it was a pretty big statement win for them. Yeah,
that's definitely UNT's recipe for success. A great defensive game and a good run game. And now we have 8 straight wins for this team. Mackenzie, give me your thoughts. Dating back to last year, this team is just on fire in conference play.
I think they're doing great. Beginning of the season, it always seems like there's a couple hiccups in there. But when it comes down to the big games in the season, UTSA, that was a big game for us last year, and we executed well. I think UNT, for some weird reason, actually plays better when they're under pressure. So I think for them going against UTSA this week, I think we can see, since they're under pressure, I think we see Austinani step up and get a dub.
Yeah, this certainly is going to be a tough game this weekend. But Alex, how long do you see this winning streak going on for the Mean Green?
Well, if you want to talk realistically, I think the streak is most likely going to end this week against UTSA. UTSA is an extremely good team in the CUSA. Their passing game is phenomenal. And when you look at how that matches up against UNT's defense, it's not very good because UNT is last in the CUSA in passing defense. So realistically, I think the streak ends this week against UTSA.
Well, the win last weekend now puts UNT at 4 wins on the season. They really needed that win in order to get to a bowl game and obviously to stay in first place. Is UNT now on track to make the postseason, Mackenzie?
I think if we can get the win over UTSA, I think that sets us up for wins over Western Kentucky, UAB, Rice. Those are the next teams on the schedule. UTSA is the test for if we make it in the postseason, because I think UNT is very much a momentum team. And so if UNT can't get the momentum from the win against UTSA, I think it goes downhill from this game.
Well, it's certainly nice to see UNT and UTSA right up there in first place in Conference USA. Alex, how do we match up against this UTSA squad?
Honestly, not very good when you look at it. As I said, the passing defense for UNT is not very good. And when you look at UTSA's offense, the passing game is their strength. But they can also run the ball efficiently. So when you look at it, UNT's offense now, they're going to have to pass the ball efficiently and, of course, stick to their guns, run the ball. If they can run the ball efficiently, they're going to be able to put up points. And if they can put up points and go toe-to-toe with this UTSA team, if they can make it a shootout and just score more points than UTSA, I think that's going to be how they end up winning this game.
Well, follow-up question for you, Alex. Is this UTSA team the team to beat in Conference USA?
Oh, absolutely. This is 100% the team to beat in CUSA. When you look at their stats, it's very close between them and Western Kentucky for the #1 offense. I would arguably say UTSA edges them out based on their strength of schedule, playing Houston, who was ranked coming into the season, and then Texas later on, who they actually was tied with at halftime. Now, they ended up losing, but of course still, taking that team to a tie game at halftime is very impressive.
Do you agree, Mackenzie?
I would have to agree with that. I think you look at UTSA's strength of schedule, they've got Houston. I think that game went into overtime, close game. And I think UNT, the only really tough game we've really had was SMU. And that's a team we face every year, and we just can't seem to beat them. So as far as UTSA goes, that's the team to beat.
Well, UTSA definitely going to try to air it out in this game while UNT tries to get those rushing yards. Alex, what do we have to do to pull off an upset this weekend?
We got to pressure their quarterback, obviously. We've done great at pressuring the quarterbacks in some recent weeks, and they've allowed 15 sacks against Frank Harris so far this season. So if we can keep pressure on them, limit the passing game, that's one of the major things that's going to help us win this game. Another thing is, of course, sticking to our guns, running the ball. get the run game going. We have to have at least over 200 yards rushing if we're going to win this game. And then finally, limit the mistakes. We've had some turnover problems, especially with Osnani. He's not been the most efficient passing the ball, but if you can limit the turnovers and we can get the ball going down the field, I think we have a decent shot at winning this game.
Quickly, some keys of the game, Mackenzie.
Keys to the game, I'd say keep UTSA under 30 points. We're 0-3 when our opponents have more than 30 points. The second one would have to be we have to vary up the play calling. I disagree with him. I think they're expecting us to run it. So I think Osnani comes out, throws the ball. I think that's a good strategy for us.
Well, make sure to catch the Battle of the Birds in San Antonio this weekend at 2:30. UNT, UTSA, some first-place teams. Let's go. Stay with us. We're going to talk about the Dallas Cowboys' upcoming matchup this Sunday against the Detroit Lions.
Somos papichulo, recuerden, don't mess with Texas, y'all.
I joined the Army after 9/11 because I thought it was what I needed to do. We got our orders to go overseas, and I went to Baghdad, Iraq. We rolled over 2 anti-tank mines. It blew my Humvee up. After the explosion, I suffered a closed head injury, traumatic brain injury, burns to 60% of my body. When the doctors told me I reached my plateau, I didn't want to hear that, because I don't believe I have a plateau. I got into where I'm at because of my family and the people that have been behind me. The Wounded Warrior Project has helped me more than I could ever imagine. They've really been there to support me. I am living proof to never give up, and I will never give up.
Hey Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Can birds draw pictures?
I don't have an answer for that.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look,
The return of the Dak. After missing 4 games due to a hand injury, quarterback Dak Prescott is expected to return this Sunday when the Cowboys host the Detroit Lions. Here to talk some Dallas Cowboys football are our analysts Drew Maurer and Nicholas Ogele. Guys, Cooper Rush no longer undefeated as the Cowboys starting quarterback. 26-17, a final last weekend against the Philadelphia Eagles. Just give me your thoughts on that rivalry game loss for the Cowboys, Drew.
Well, there's no more quarterback controversy. We can start with that. Dak is healthy. He's got to start. Honestly, Sunday's loss needed to happen. If we're being honest, it really needed to happen. People were seriously considering Cooper Rush for the starting job. Jerry Jones even said it, and he said they're going to have a battle. I mean, that's just ridiculous. So it needed to happen. They needed to reset, and we needed to see Dak needs to be back. I mean, Cooper Rush was terrible. He had 181 passing yards, 47% complete. I know I've talked about the completion percentage a lot, but 47% completion, a touchdown, as opposed to 3 interceptions. He was atrocious. But
Well, Nick, now this loss now drops the Cowboys to 3rd place in this surprisingly loaded NFC East division
Somehow.
this season. Nick, how big of a loss was that game?
Yeah, I'm not worried. I'm not worried about it too much. The
worried?
quarterback controversy. I don't know. Like, that's for people that are sitting on the couch and seeing the score at the end of the game and go, "Oh, we won. W's. We won. Oh, looks like we have a quarterback controversy. We should start somebody else." But no, there was never a true quarterback controversy. No. Jerry Jones said he would like one because we're winning, if that's the case. Sure. But I completely understand what you're saying. I'm not too worried about the division or anything like that because, well, for one, the Giants are fraudulent. And 2, the Eagles, I want to say are fraudulent, but they're the real deal. But that doesn't mean it looks like 3 teams are going to make it out of out into the playoffs in the NFC East. But the Giants have a who's who at receiver, and when I say who's who, I don't mean who's who like the good type of who's who. I mean like who is that? who is that person on the field? Who's playing right now? They need a receiver, and then I'll be a little more scared of their offense. For sure.
Well, all talks of quarterback controversy are now over in Dallas, but Drew, are the Cowboys bringing Dak back too soon?
I think it's time. I do. I mean, he was probably healthy last week, but they held him out against a really good team in the Philadelphia Eagles. So he's got to be healthy, and it's like it needs to happen, right? It's got to happen at some point. Might as well happen against the worst rushing defense in the NFL, probably the worst passing defense overall as well. So, I mean, you got to bring him back at some point. What better team to do it against than Detroit?
And there's unfortunately really no way to know his full health status and if he's fully ready to go. But Nick, do you think they're making this move too soon?
Not at all. I think you could per se start him after like the next week when we play not the Lions but the Bears. But this is a good a couple weeks to ramp up into the bye, because then we come out against the Packers, who, for whatever their offense is, they have a good defense with players like Jair Alexander in that secondary to deal with. But and then the Vikings right after that. So those are two good teams. But I think he should ramp up against these two teams to start with, just to get back in the motions and everything. Because you throw him right into the fire against those good defenses, then we might have another quarterback controversy on our hands when he's not playing what people think should be up to par for him.
And certainly two defenses to kind of get him back into the rhythm, Lions and the Bears, and then bye, as you mentioned, Nick. How does Dak being back now change the outlook of the Cowboys season, Drew?
I mean, it's going to be the worst they can do is 6-4, if we're being honest. The worst they can do, and the best is 8-2, which, I mean, that's a good season right there. The Cowboys' schedule is really easy, guys. Like Nick was saying, they face the NFC North back to back, if you don't count the bye week. Against the Lions, Bears, and the Packers, who are skidding a little bit. The Vikings clearing away the toughest team out of those four. I mean, what better time to get Dak back? And honestly, I could see the Cowboys going 8-2, maybe 7-3, 6-4. But all three of those records, not bad for what most people would have considered at the beginning of the season a disaster.
So, Nick, what do you expect to see out of Dak this week? And obviously, we don't know if he's fully healthy or not, but just what do you expect to see out of him?
Well, what I expect to see is we're going to air it out more. Now, what I want to see is us go to, we have a couple clips or whatever. I know we have one of Cooper Rush throwing an interception that I suggested. But the point is, I want us to move back to the Cooper Rush type of offense that we had. Like that style, we had Dak running was too much we're depending too much on our quarterback. Like a lot of teams in the NFL this year seem to be doing. A lot of QB mistakes and everything like that, interceptions, turnovers. We're just relying on our quarterback to do too much. We need to run the ball like we were doing and then pass. Like Cooper Rush was just simply hitting the open man. We don't have and then whenever the mistake came was when we're playing the Eagles and we're playing from behind. Our offense doesn't really tend to do well with us playing from behind. It was 20-0 at one point in that game. So we had a lot to make up, but and that's when he threw it into 5 Eagles. So we need to do that, run check downs, and just throw the open guy.
Absolutely.
Well, it's the return of Dak Prescott this Sunday, Cowboys and Lions at AT&T Stadium at noon on CBS, an NFC battle on CBS. Love that. Coming up next, we're going to talk about the Dallas Mavericks and their season opener that happened last night. Stay with us.
Jeff Foxworthy here. You know, if you've ever found yourself repeating the same thing for 75 years, you might be Smokey Bear.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Well, thing is, there's a lot more to say. Like if you've ever found yourself burning yard debris and then walking away, well, you might be starting a wildfire. So for the love of the outdoors, go to SmokeyBear.com to learn more about wildfire prevention.
What do you think you're doing, Kevin?
Was just gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
Like hearing voices?
Like your text-to-emoji ratio?
Oh man, the selfies.
Selfie nailed it.
We all have warning signs that let us know that we're probably not okay to drive. Mine is pretending to be your subconscious.
Craig, come on man, let's put a ride home.
When I was your age, I was just like you, fascinated by stars.
Wow.
But now I get to search for life in the universe. And who knows, maybe life is looking for us too.
So we're like aliens to them?
Yeah. Does anyone want to be a scientist now?
I do.
Awesome. We need more girls in STEM.
Maybe we can find aliens.
Dallas Mavericks basketball is finally back as the city is buzzing in anticipation of yet another magical, memorable basketball season. Here to talk Dallas Mavericks basketball, we have our duo of Brandons, Brandon Brown and Brandon Brunworth. Guys, the season opener happened last night. The tip-off got us going against the Phoenix Suns, a team that Dallas is very familiar with after the playoffs last year. 107-105 the final. The Suns get the win. Brandon Brown, I'm going to start with you. Just give me your thoughts on that season opening game.
You know, it was really great seeing that offense play out there and that defense work together. And everything was going right. I mean, there were some issues, there was some experiments, but hey, we were winning. We were up 22 points in the third quarter, only to have it taken away by Devin Booker and co. So that one hurt a little bit, but.
Yeah. Give me your thoughts, Brandon.
I mean, it definitely stings. It can't sting as bad as knocking them out of the playoffs in Game 7 this last year, so I can't feel that bad about it. And it's one of those things where it was frustrating watching the Mavs lose that big lead last night, but you also have to remember it's 1 of 82. And it's Kid has got to mess with the lineups for a couple months at least, as we saw last season, before things really get gelling.
So let's talk Jason Kidd now, because this team goes into year 2 under Jason Kidd. Obviously, last season, just a magical run to the Western Conference Finals. How impressive was that playoff run last season? I don't think anyone saw that coming, Brandon Brown.
Oh, no. It was awesome. I mean, nobody, like you said, nobody expected that to happen. And to have us go that far, like we beat the Suns, nobody thought that was going to happen. We were in the Final Four. We thought we had a chance. I mean, realistically, maybe not. But in that moment, we had such a fun time watching this team kind of grow and have this chance against Golden State. And they had some good moments, but that's going to be the default this season, I'm afraid. Now that they've had that little taste of success, they're going to basically be demanded that they get right back there and even further this time.
What did you think of that Cinderella run?
I mean, it was obviously amazing. It's one of those things where I think it's a key to success this year as well. You saw how they won in Game 7 was Luka and Spencer Dinwiddie absolutely controlling the game, and we're going to win and lose with those players. You know, and I think add Tim Hardaway Jr. to that list this year, and that's just the way it goes. But it's as impressive as it gets. The defense really leading the way, I think, is the most impressive part about that run.
And obviously, you get Luka back this year, year 2 under Jason Kidd. A couple new faces on this team as well. So, Brandon Brown, what are your realistic expectations going into this season?
Well, I love the JaVale McGee pickup. I know he didn't do great last game, but I do like that pickup. I think he's going to help us down the road. And I'm excited to kind of see Spencer Dinwiddie be used a little bit more. We got a little bit of him last season. I want to see kind of what he can do, especially with Luka off the court. I think they're not serious contenders yet, though. That's the thing. I think they've got a real good shot at winning this division, making the playoffs. I think they've got a real good shot to make somewhat of a run, but I'm not convinced yet. I don't see that they have all the necessary pieces to maybe make that serious championship push.
So, Brandon Brunworth, do you think making it back to the Western Conference Finals is the minimum expectation for this team?
I would think absolutely, yes. You get a team that brings back most of its players together, that we're able to play defense in a way that we haven't seen around here in this city with basketball maybe ever. I mean, if we're being honest here. And so I think that has to be the expectation. Yeah, anything less than that now would be a disappointment. However, you're talking about just an absolutely stacked, more stats than last season West. I mean, you add the Clippers back in the mix, the Nuggets back in the mix, getting Jamal Murray back. I mean, there's all these teams. I would say that's my expectation, but is it a realistic one? It's harder to say.
And all roads in the West certainly go through Golden State as well. So, I mean, can the Mavericks realistically win the NBA title this year? Or am I getting my hopes up too much?
I don't think they can. I don't think this is their year to be a complete team yet. I just don't think, as talented as Luka is, as serious as an MVP contender that he could be, I just don't see him carrying this team past a powerhouse like Golden State, at least not yet.
And Luka certainly didn't have a great game last night, but still had 35 points. So 2 of 10 from three-point range wasn't great, but 35 points in a bad game is certainly MVP status. So Brandon Brunworth, can Luka make it to the MVP status and maybe be a finalist this year?
I think absolutely. I mean, I think you answered your own question right there. We're talking about a bad game from Luka, and he had 35 points. I mean, that kind of thing is the only reason I'll say the Mavs can definitely still win a title. If you have a player like that is on that trajectory, what is his good games going to be this season then? You know, and this is the first time. I don't know that he's ever scored 30 in the first week of play in the NBA, because he's always come in kind of out of shape. Where last night, you can tell that was not the case. He definitely is the most slim he's ever been. So I think he'll take that loss to heart last night and make sure that he keeps it up. I definitely think he can win MVP this year.
Same question to you. Is MVP Luka status happening this year?
I would think so. I think This team has plenty of support, enough to where Luka maybe isn't being targeted all the time. He has some more room to kind of play, but it's not enough support to where it's taking away from Luka. And I think this is still Luka's team. This is still we're sinking or we're swimming with Luka. And if there is any season for him to win MVP, it's this season because of that.
And certainly all comes down to the supporting cast as well. So Brendan Brunworth, really quickly, give me one more key player to watch for the Mavs.
I mean, it's got to be Christian Wood. He was easily our second best player last night, and I think he's going to crack that starting lineup sooner rather than later. I think he is our key to success this year, making the conference finals again, potentially the finals. It's if he is going to gel with the team.
Well, certainly should be a fun season for the Dallas Mavericks as expectations are at an all-time high. Stay with us for more here on Sportszone. We're going to debate between some UNT sporting legends.
Job, full-time hustle, all-time hero to all of us. You nurture, we listen. You teach, we thrive. You lift our spirits, but we've got to lay down the truth. It's time for you, our Shiro, to stretch for the stars. A free online chat can give you the personalized tips you need to start boosting your retirement savings today. Start saving more for retirement so you can feel prepared and live your life to the fullest. Visit aceyourretirement.org/Shiro.
Bye, Janet. It's nice seeing you again. You a good girl. Just let me know what I can do to help.
Well, to help me, she'd have to help every day. Every hour, every ouch, every time my wife calls for help. I mean, maybe she could help me make her lunch. But the crust, all the crust has to be cut off the corners. She could help me run to the doctor for the 5th time this week. Help me with the specialist and the second opinions and the painful paperwork about paperwork. Help me deal with how hard it is seeing my wife's name on so much paperwork. But this is on me. I'm the only one who can do this, like this, for her. Besides,
take care.
We will. Janet doesn't like her cooking anyway.
Find support for your strength. Visit aarp.org/caregiving for care guides and community.
Welcome back into Sports Zone. I am your host, Justin Ballou. Well, it is time for us to debate some UNT sporting legends with a segment that we like to call This or That. Joining me to do so are analysts Caleb Blanton and Tyler Luker. Guys, I'm going to start off with a bang here. Two coaching legends, current coaching legends here at UNT, Coach McCaslin from men's basketball and Coach Hedlund from the women's soccer team. Caleb, this or that, who you got?
I got Coach McCaslin. I mean, he's turned this basketball program around. He put us on the map, taking us to the NCAA championship and beating Purdue. So I'm going to take him.
Love it. Tyler, who you got?
I got Coach Hedlund. I love Coach Mack, but it's got to be Hedlund. I mean, decades of winning. I mean, you have 28 seasons in a row, winning seasons, 16 conference championships. It's got to be him.
Well, UNT sports are going to continue to be a lot of fun with these two coaches, as long as we can keep them. Hopefully, Coach Mack doesn't leave. Next one, we got some basketball legends, let's say on basketball. Tyler Perry, the current GOAT here at UNT, or Javian Hamlet, the GOAT of the past. Caleb, who you got?
I'm going to go with Javian Hamlet just because he averaged more points per game and he had a better shooting percentage. And I think he's just a better overall player.
And took us, obviously, to the NCAA tournament as well. Tyler, who you got?
I got Tyler Perry. I mean, he's him. Let's be real here.
Yeah.
Leading scorer on the best season ever in Mean Green history for basketball. Great name. Game winners last year against UAB and La Tech. Great player all around. I think he's the right choice.
Tyler Perry certainly has a clutch gene that I think was maybe missing with Javian Hamlet, but I think Javian Hamlet was the more talented player. Let's go women's basketball now. Quincy Noble from the women's basketball team, or Olivia Klein, one of the stars of the women's soccer team. Who you got, Caleb?
I'm going to take Quincy Noble. I mean, she is the star of this team. She is the best player. She puts up the most points per game on the team at 14.1, and I think she's just a better player.
Yeah, I don't know what this women's team would be without Quincy Noble. Tyler, who's your pick?
I'm going to agree. Quincy Noble, she's as local as it gets. I mean, we got McKinney, UNT, ntTV, and she's working with the Dallas Wings. She's as local as it gets, and she's playing great.
Now I want to show some love to Olivia Klein because she has been the only good player really this season, the only player that's lived up to expectation from this soccer team. So definitely want to show her some love, but I love the Quincy Noble pick. Let's switch gears. Let's talk some football. These guys both now in the NFL, football alums here at UNT. Jeff Wilson Jr., currently of the 49ers, or Jalen Guyton, one of the stars of that Chargers receiving corps. Who you got, Caleb?
Jeff Wilson, he's producing in the league, and while he was at UNC, his last year, he had 1,215 rushing yards, and he had 16 rushing touchdowns.
Wow, that's a lot. Who you got, Tyler?
I agree. Jeff Wilson, he's top 5 in rushing yards, rushing touchdowns, and all-purpose yards for UNT history. He's getting an RB1 chance with the 49ers. He's the right pick.
Yeah, these guys are certainly giving UNT some love at the NFL level. Hopefully Jalen Darden can break through, but we'll see how that goes with Tampa Bay. Now, 2 other UNT football legends, Mean Joe Green, who our school is obviously, our mascot is named after, or Stone Cold Steve Austin. Maybe you knew that, maybe you didn't know that he went to UNT, but 2 really good options here. Who you got, Caleb?
I got Mean Joe Green. We're named after him, one after all, and I mean, he made it to the Hall of Fame. We're known for him. That's why I got him.
That's true. Stone Cold Steve Austin is definitely a legend, though. Tyler, who you got?
I have Stone Cold Steve Austin. Mean Joe Green, he's got 10 Pro Bowls, College Football Hall of Fame, NFL Hall of Fame, but he hasn't won 3 Royal Rumbles. And that's something only Stone Cold has.
Wow. Okay, let's go Jalen Darden, who I just mentioned, or Javian Hamlet, pairing up some guys that we've already talked about here. Who you got, Caleb?
Darden's my guy. He put up a lot of receiving yards. His last year, he had 1,190 receiving yards. He had 19 touchdowns.
Wow, who you got, Tyler?
I got to agree. I mean, the all-time leader in receptions, touchdowns, and yards, one of 2 All-Americans in UNT history. It's got to be Darden.
So let's stick with Jalen Darden here for a second. What does he have to do to get more playing time in that just stacked Buccaneers receiving room? What do you guys think?
I don't think he can get playing time. I mean, look at those receivers. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Julio Jones. I don't think he can get the time.
Now, they have given him some duties on punt returns, kick returns, that type of thing. Tyler, do you want to see him in the starting lineup with the Bucs? How awesome would that be?
Yes, I want to see him ASAP. He was so great in college. Give him a chance. I mean, so good.
So between the 3 alums, football-wise, that we've talked about, Jalen Darden, Jeff Wilson, Jalen Guyton, give me a pick out of those 3. Who is our best football legend that's currently in the NFL?
Jeff Wilson.
Jeff Wilson. Who you got?
Now, are we talking NFL or college?
Either one. Just overall UNT legend. Who gives UNT more representation being in the NFL now?
I'll stick with Darden because, I mean, he's got Tom Brady as his quarterback. Maybe some chances down the season. But play for a big team, big name player.
And he was the first player drafted here in a long while, too. So shout out Jalen Darden. Now, this isn't a sports guy, but one guy that we know went to UNT, probably our most famous alum. I want to just get your thoughts on Dr. Phil and his time at UNT and just how much of a legend he is. Caleb.
I mean, obviously he's a legend. Everyone knows him. Like, no matter what age group you are, you know of him. So, of course.
Dr. Phil. What you got, Tyler?
Yeah, I mean, he's a household name. He's in Scary Movie. He's got all his segments. When you tour here, they tell you we put the doctor in Dr. Phil.
That's awesome. So, well, hopefully sometime we can get Dr. Phil as a guest here on Sportszone, but not today. Hopefully you had a lot of fun here with us. We'll be back next week, Tuesday and Thursday at 5:30 here on Sportszone, and make sure to stay tuned for ntTV news coming up next.
Get it.
Get it.
Get it. Get it.
Get it. Get it.
Is she gonna get it, Daddy?
She'll get it.
Get it. Get it.
When you bring home a Goodwill find, you give your whole town a reason to celebrate because you're also funding local job training and placement programs in tech, healthcare, and more. Goodwill. Bring good home.